There is one trick that all artists use when they draw something. Well, anything actually, and that is to break it into simple shapes. So let's talk about it. By the way, I'm hosting a free art workshop with info stream every 2 weeks where we go through different topics to learn together. So if you would like to join in, there is a Discord link in the description. And okay, back to the video. I imagine you guys want to draw character illustration, right? And there is a lot of things that can talk about, but mainly being like the ability to think in 3D. This is important because like you don't always find reference for the exact angle that you may need unless you have access to like a 3D model, let alone that, or like even if you have a 3D model, you don't have the exact model for the object that you need. So what is 3D? Now when you say 2D, it's obvious, right? And when you say 3D, now don't judge my cube drawing ability, it's abysmal. So there's one thing, I'm gonna go a little bit technical on this and then we're gonna go a little bit less technical. So first, this is called a shape in 2D, okay? Shape, point, and then line. And then when you go into 3D, when you change it into 3D, suddenly you realize there is a lot more different shape here, right? So the whole thing, we will call it a form. This is a little bit technical. They call it vertex, which is just like a fancy word for corner, okay? Line will become like a edges, okay? You will have the ability to think in this here. And ideally, you would be able to turn the object essentially in your head. Maybe turn it this way, maybe turn it this way, and then you can draw accordingly. So this is what we mean by thinking in 3D. And the one way to build your 3D knowledge, there is some exercise you can do. One exercise is that like you look at an object, let's say you look at a cube, or any mundane object that you may find actually in your household. When you look at it, you will have to imagine something, let's say the cube being turned this way, let's say. How much you decide, and then you draw it, the thing, you draw this here, and then you check. When it's really turned, you check, is it correct? Now ideally you would do this with like an object rather than just like a basic shape. There is some 3D models website out there. You can use it to maybe fiddle around objects, or you can do some mundane household object. There is a pencil case, do that. Okay, there's a can, do that. All the 3D model website, I'm gonna share the link at the end or at the post, so don't worry about it. So this is how we train it. We can think in 3D if we have enough visual library. Unfortunately, this is a thing you have to train rather than you can just like pick up like 2 days, okay? This will be a little bit learning curve. But once you learn it, you should be fine. Now, this is what we call an eclipse. A circle, a 2D circle. The thing is gonna turn, right? Something maybe like this. Now it's become narrower, and then narrower. I'm sorry, the size is a little bit different. Eventually, it will just become a straight line. Okay, now, this helps us actually draw cylinders. When you spin a 2D circle, it flattens out, right? The distance here is gonna become smaller, smaller, and smaller until it just becomes like a dot. Okay. Now this is how we usually try to show kind of 3D feeling to it. Like I think from here to here you can kind of sense a little bit motion. Now this is what we help us gonna draw like a cylinder. We are going into like some basic shapes. There's a lot of basic shapes actually. I think most common would be like a box, right? Would be like a box, cylinders, okay? Or maybe something like this. I don't know what it's called. What is this called? There is a lot more basic shapes, okay? But like I'm just gonna the most common one. So when we do a cylinder, now when you're doing it like this, There is something that like here. This is what we call like the central axis. You don't really need to know the term of everything. You just need to know there is like a line here. There must be a line in a circle, and then like they are the same, like a spine when you try to turn it or something. This will not change no matter how you turn this thing to here or to here. It wouldn't change, right? So this is a little bit to keep in mind. Okay, this will be a 90-degree angles here, so it will not be like this. It will not be like this. It will not be like this. Okay, just be careful when drawing cylinders. Unfortunately, we will have to learn it. It will be painful, but it will be really beneficial, especially when you're drawing, well, basically everything, but like especially when you're drawing background. Most people have like a problem of drawing the have you seen those drawing? There is a guy and then there is nothing in the background. So this is common because people, me included, just draw the character and then they think they can go the background. Well, we can just fit something in between, right? But that's not how it works. So learning perspective is actually prevent, and also like you don't do this. Believe me, I have my share of hard time when just coming up. Maybe you do some gradient or like some design border or something, right? Or maybe some text or some another gradient here or something, but never really too detailed. But graphic design, it's a total new skill. If you do it correctly, this kind of background can work. If you're not, you are just filling the blanks with some elements, it will not work and it will feel amateur, and we don't want that, right? So don't do this. So let's do a still life study, and I'm going to show you how to actually do a still life study. Now first, we're going to block out the overall shape of the thing. I'm going to do it in my way. You can do it in a different way, as long as like the general shape is actually blocked out, okay? Don't worry too much if it's like, oh, this is wrong, this is like, no need to worry too much about it. You can see me actually going like through a lot on like just erasing and things, and that's totally okay. Of course, there is some people that prefer like a more blocky type to start, a more traditional. I think it's mainly used in traditional art. So this is how I started learn to draw actually, and it actually helps you learn to understand like how you observe, and that is actually really good for the long run. So now we can move on to a little bit details. So we can see like a bigger grapes here. We're gonna just do some circles to indicate there is a grape there. Also, it would be good to actually find some landmarks. Let's say like this one is actually touching the edges and I know where to put the thing, right? So you often always see like artists telling you to, you know, simplify, to break it down to simple shapes, and like you ever wonder like how did they do it? This is how they do it. Rather than doing like those really simple shape like a rectangle and things, I think some more artists actually prefer doing it like this. Like they have the image in mind, like the simple shape in mind. So they actually have like a rectangle here in mind, a kind of oval shape in mind here. So there's no too much of a rigid rule on how you should do it. As long as it serves you, and that's fine. You'll also see that I don't zoom in a lot, because like I don't want to focus too much on the details. We're doing a study here, we're not doing hyperrealism and things. You can of course add shading if you like. I'm not gonna do it, I'm too lazy for it. And And I think like in terms of for reference that you want to find, you can actually just go through Pinterest to type like still life, which is what I did here. And you type still life in your Pinterest search bar, there should be a tons of like, you can also add photography for like real life photos, and there should be a bunch of objects that you can find. And I think there is another one that is also quite good. It's Sketchfab. Let's say you type in base, right? Then you can find a bunch of objects that you can do with it, and then there is like a really cool thing that you can do on this website. Now, you can actually spin it around in this program, and if you want the reference, you can actually take a screenshot of your screen, and you know, this is a really cool thing, and this is free. Of course, if you want to download the model and you have like a 3D model program, it is also possible. There is a bunch of other 3D websites. I haven't figured that out yet, so I'm not gonna share with you. But it's here, so okay. Thank you so much for watching, and again, if you would like to join in on the art workshop, click the link in the description. Thank you and take care, okay? Bye bye.